How do you find your work-life balance? Because I guess you got 3 jobs, you got family, you must have friends. So how do you balance all of that?
Not very well. Yeah.
Cheers to that
Cheers.
then.
That's definitely one thing I've got to work on.
Hey Lucy, thank you for accepting the invite and welcome to A Glass of Marketing with Joe. The concept is pretty simple. We usually have a glass of wine while talking about marketing, of course, personal and professional growth.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so today the wine we're gonna drink is a Ferrari, which is like an Italian champagne. It's probably one of the most famous. They're actually sponsoring the FA1. So they got limited edition bottles, and this is what we got today. So they have a limited edition for each truck. So this is actually for the Imola truck. 100% Chardonnay, amazing wine, probably one of my favorites. So let's start the interview with nice,
What
a
a
little
way
bit
to
of
start.
wine. Yeah, so please. Cool. Cheers, and thank you for accepting the invite.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Salute.
Salute. Cool. So, Lucy, you the managing director of Nutshell Creative. Can you please introduce yourself and better explain to our audience what you guys do and what's your role?
Yeah, sure. So we're a full service creative agency based in the UK, just outside of Buckingham. But I also wear a few different hats. So I chair a trade association in the UK called the Strategic Mailing Partnership, which is supported by Royal Mail, and also represent various different councils. So the Direct Marketing Association, the Data and Marketing Association, and the Independent Print Industries Association. So like to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the industry. Managing director of a charity that I formed a couple of years ago, just coming out of COVID, called Topic Heroes, which is a children's charity that supports primary school education with their literacy.
Amazing, and I'm sure we're gonna touch on that. But probably the first topic is regarding the creative industry, right? I feel like I started my career in performance marketing, so I think the biggest power of digital marketing today is that you can measure everything. So we're focusing a lot on efficiency and effectiveness, but I feel like we're losing a little bit of the creative side. And today we're recording from Cannes Lions. By the way, thank you to the Advertising UK and Talon for giving us this amazing location. And I feel like at this festival, we celebrate a lot of creativity. But what's your take on the creativity market today? Because I feel like we're losing a bit the efficiency and everyone focusing on CPC, CTR, make it lose it a bit. What's your take on that?
I think we're in an age at the moment where we are very digitally saturated, and that's not a criticism of that. It's something that I feel running a creative agency can sometimes block that creativity. So if you take, and I'm sure we'll move on to this in further detail as we're chatting, but I feel that from a brand's perspective, if you can leverage tactility a little bit more, we're not fatigued by the screen and the digital noise, that we can actually tell a story in a lot more of a creative way, and aesthetically have something, brand in the hand, we call it. So look at telling that story in a more visual, tactile way, as opposed to being on a screen.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's part of the experience, right?
Exactly. And that said, I mean, it's not one or the other. It's about the combination of the two and then working holistically together to get better results.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And honestly, look at this. Like, to promote my podcast, I print some stickers,
I
right?
love it.
And I think this is part of it, right? It's like I'm actually promoting my video podcast on YouTube. I can ask people to subscribe. I can do ads online. But I think the power of giving someone like a sticker that they can, put somewhere or just touch it. I feel like it's the power of actually having an experience, and probably online we kind of losing it a bit, right?
Yes, agreed. And you only have to look along the Croisette now, where the digital companies are actually, or tech companies are actually promoting what they do by handing out flyers.
Yeah, and honestly,
which
in the
is
B2B industry, I think it's key because the other option is called emails, right? How many emails we get every day, and you're not gonna reply because either you don't have time or either you don't care, right? Let's be honest. When you meet people in person, you always more willing to listen to that story, right? And this is
course.
the representation of the
Yeah,
experience. Right?
absolutely.
If we think about it and we look also the future, I feel like the offline today is getting more power. So if you think about billboards, for example, if you can integrate it with the media side, right, online, so you can make sure you can track people actually seeing that billboard. So if in the past you had like digital marketing that could be kind of better position in terms of like allocating a certain budget because you could measure. Today you can actually measure impressions and reach on billboards, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and the same with, if you take the likes of advertising mail. So over the last few years, there's a currency now that's been developed in the same way as you would measure out of home or radio, TV, etc., called JIC mail, which is a joint industry committee, and that is the measurement tool for mail. So there's a panel of 2,500 UK households, and they track that interaction the moment that piece of mail's received on the doorstep and how long. And talking about attention, one of the latest bits of research that's come out is that an average piece of advertising mail will stay in the home and be interacted with up to about 4.5 days, but the attention on that is around 180 seconds. So if you compare that with the likes of email and the attention that deserves or receives, there's quite a significant shift in us being able to prove that metric.
So how do they measure the attention?
So there's a panel. So each 2,500 people on the panel, they have apps on their phone where they measure that interaction and where they're receiving it, where they're putting it in the home, what they're actually doing with it, whether it drives them online, and ultimately whether it leads to a purchase or interaction, etc.
It's interesting because as you said, and it's gonna be part of your living room, right? Some like
Absolutely. Or your kitchen.
Yeah, the kitchen.
Generally the kitchen.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So mostly the kitchen. It's interesting because it's there, right? It's like it's a display and people can see it and can interact it. And I'm a big fan of, of course, stickers, but like the interaction, because I feel like in a society where we got a lot of messages, right? You need to be able to make your message be remembered, and the experience is key. So getting back to events like that, I think you kind of experience something and you will remember that, right? So,
absolutely. And the open rates are quite a bit higher as well. When you think when a piece of mail is received, I think it's around, I did write this down, about 95%.
Really? Yeah. If I think about it, I get a lot of posts in London and I have to open it because I never know what's in there, right? Maybe someday I will find some cash in there. So this is
that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. An interesting thing, actually, you see a lot of, certainly the financial institutions where they're moving to paper statements.
Mm-hmm.
But again, research also proves as Market Reach, which is the research arm of Royal Mail, and they refer to it as customer mail. So ordinarily, your bills and statements and everything that come through, and people are moving online. But actually, it's a brand opportunity that's missed, because if you think that it's a bill that you're receiving, you're absolutely 100% guaranteed that you're going to open it. Mm-hmm. And from a branding perspective, we see it as an opportunity lost.
I'm also a big fan of like street art linked to, advertising and branding, because if you can build something that looks cool as well, and you can use it as a piece of art within your place, I think it has the double functionality. So for example, I see in London they do a lot of graffiti, like in Shoreditch. It's mostly east, where you see like brands doing graffiti on walls, like big buildings. And I think it's pretty cool, because of course you're doing something that can go viral because people are gonna see it first, but they're also gonna share it on social. So it feels like it starts offline, but then it lives online, right?
cool. Yeah,
So
a good example of that actually. My children often frequent well, not so much now when they're slightly younger, one of the Nike skate parks in Camden, which is it's so cool, really cool in terms of the street art. And,
yeah. No, it's probably the other point on the print side will be the sustainability, right? Because a lot of people think there is a lot of paper involved, right?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
When you think there was a study that was done actually, and it was an interesting perception. So if you take the retail market and the move from plastic to paper, the consumer automatically thinks, I'm being a lot more sustainable and being a lot more environmentally conscious because I'm moving from plastic to paper, and paper is their choice of packaging. And you'll see that huge shift in that over the last couple of years at least. But when you look at it, the consumer perception in the marketing sense, paper is seen to be, the dirty word, if you like. But actually, it's one of the most sustainable. When you look at, there's a not-for-profit organisation in the UK called Two Sides. They predominantly debust the myths of the sustainability piece and how responsible, the paper merchants, the paper mills, etc., have to be. By replanting, by creating, a circular economy. And when you start to then look at stats that are published again, I'm not, I'm just doing a comparison digital against paper. 3% of the the global emissions for digital, for example, is generally what I'm trying to say here, what is the emissions that are actually spent. And if you compare that with the likes of the airline industry, that ranks at about 5%. So in terms of what we're doing as an industry, as in the print industry, and what we're supporting, the credentials that we have to adhere to are there to stay. And we've just got to help the consumer shift and for them to understand in the same way that they do for the packaging side of things in the marketing spend, because it is seen as a more expensive and less sustainable model, which is not actually the case. So if you check out Two Sides, that debusts a lot of the myths. And of course, there's the whole greenwashing piece as well, where people are shifting and communicating a message to say that, be more green, stop printing, but when in actual fact it's not the case.
I think it's also interesting when brands use like marketing channel or like a marketing tool for two purposes. I give you an example. There is Nutella, the Italian brand, you know, they do the spreadable nut. And essentially what they did at some point, they were putting the Nutella inside those glasses. So it was like a jar, but you could use it as a glass as well. So they always had different prints. So the interesting thing was that, of course, you finish the product, you keep the glass, and the glass is like an always-on marketing message within your place. But then also you grew up with those glasses, right? So I remember when I was younger, we all grew up with those glasses, and now, I mean, they are not doing it anymore, but like we still remember that, and that was part of my childhood, right? And I think that's pretty powerful, being part of someone's lifestyle, right? Yeah, this is much easier if you do it with the offline world. The power of the tangible, right?
Yeah. It's like the Marmite jars. Do you remember those? The personalised ones.
Yes. Yeah. And also Coca-Cola, for example, they did it many times with, the personalized bottles and all these other things. So I'm a big fan of that, to be honest, because I work for Lipton, and I feel like, delivering like personalized mugs, you actually be part of someone's life, And I think we get back to the first point, which is being part of the culture. I feel like us as advertisers, as marketing managers, one of our responsibilities is to shape the cultures. And I think this is also one of the best part of this job, is that, of course, you're trying to sell something, but like while you sell it, if you tell like a cool story, you can deliver the right message and help the society as well. So it's not just always selling, and that's it, but you can also, shape the culture as they did with TV shows, movies, right? You told me you also run a charity, right? So maybe a provocative question here is, it's charity and marketing channel as well. Like I've seen some companies doing some greenwashing and stuff, or it's not. What's your take on that?
It's
Of
a
course, it's
genuine,
provocative.
genuine passion of mine. So, Topic Heroes is a literacy charity, a learning resource that supports children in primary education. And it kind of spurred me on. I've got 3 boys myself who are all notoriously difficult, apart from the older one now, to engage in reading and writing. And I thought it was me as a parent. I thought, well, what's going on here? But then the more I delved deeper into the issue, certainly that the UK face, it was ironically down to creativity and the engagement and the lack of creative resources in schools. So that, coupled with my passion for printed media, I thought, well, why not? So we had it as initially, I mean, we've been doing this for about 7 or 8 years before we formally created the charity. And then we engaged with academics and various other institutions to make it a viable product, got some funding along the way, and then formed the charity a couple of years ago. So there is an absolute need for it. There are lack of creative resources in schools, and using the blend of physical and digital with basically the child writing a book around the topic of their choice. So it's inspiring them not to story write, but inspiring them to write about something that is of interest to them. And then the byproduct of that will come as no surprise, is a professionally printed little authored book, which rewards and recognises them for their hard work.
No, I think it's great. I mean, my second hat, so I also have like a few hats. And of course, the first one is I lead e-commerce media for Lipton Europe. But then my second hat is I teach at the university in Milan. So I'm very into the education, right? And I realized that one of the things that I think the new generation, like, it's actually missing is being creative. And I feel like in a society like this one and in the future where AI will probably be part of our life, it's already part of our life, but I feel like will always be a bigger part of our life. I think we can be more productive, we can be more efficient, but I think we're missing the creativity part. So if we look at it, right, I think AI is influencing the bottom line, which is essentially being more productive. So essentially now you can write an email in 1 minute. Probably in the past you took 10 minutes. You can do brainstorming, you can take notes from a meeting. So it's saving a lot of time. But think not just about marketing, think about like banks, like the customer care, and all the others industry, even doctors, right? Of course, you still need a doctor to do the surgery, but how many doctors are there to like kind of read the analysis and spot some patterns and tell you what you could have? Like AI can do it in seconds, and probably in the future can be even more accurate, right? So of course it's affecting the bottom line, but then of course it's also affecting the top line, because with AI today you are also being more creative in terms of like Netflix is algorithm, Spotify algorithm. So it's actually affecting both, right? And I think what we have is the creativity side. And I think in this society, we need to learn more and train more on being creative. So think outside the box, because of course AI is trained on the past. So
Sure.
it's able also to spot the future, but it's always the past. So I think our role is to work more on the creative side, but then also on the philosophy, getting back to ethics, philosophy, essentially what differentiates us from machines, right? So yeah, I feel like the power of philosophy there and the creativity.
Yeah, and starting at a young age, I think, is the critical part to that, at
Yeah.
grassroots level in primary schools.
Yeah, because if you think about it, probably you grew up talking to people in the street, right? Actually having relationships, where today most of the things happen online, right? So I feel like people, I mean, the new generation gets lost because all the comms are online and it's colder, 100%. And I think creativity comes from being imperfect, right? To being yourself, being unique, right?
Totally.
And so it's all about self-love, it's about self-awareness as well, right? How do you find your creativity then? Like, what's your...
Best in the mornings, very early. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So you wake up early?
I do, probably about 4 o'clock. I
Okay.
think I'm a renowned insomniac at times, but yeah.
I mean, it's a good time to focus, right?
It
Because
is.
everyone
It
is
is
sleeping.
very good time. Very
Yeah.
good time.
I remember when I was at uni, I was doing the opposite. So I was actually studying during the night until like 5 a.m. because it made me focus more, and everyone was sleeping. So I felt like, and also like, you get a lot of messages, notification on social media and everything. And of course, in the night, everyone is sleeping, so you can focus as well. It's interesting, yeah. And then getting to the other probably side of this video podcast, which is more like understanding, more like the personal side, right? So I guess you said you got 3 hats, right? How do you find your work-life balance? Because I mean, I guess you got 3 jobs, you got family, you must have friends. So how do you balance all of that?
Not very well.
Cheers to that then.
That's definitely one thing I've got to work on. No, it's a lot easier now. As I said, I've got 3 boys. One's at university, 2 are twins, and they're a lot older now. So work-life balance has definitely become a lot easier. But, when you're a business owner, there is no off switch. You literally are on 24/7. And don't get me wrong, it's got easier as I've worked my way through the years. Nutshell's 20 years old next year, and I've got an amazing team. So that really helps. But, I enjoy working. That's the flip side to it, and I really enjoy what we do and the team that I've got. So I think the work-life balance I probably could improve, but sometimes you're not sure whether you want to because you enjoy it as much as your personal side.
Exactly. I think during this podcast and during this journey, I think a couple of people said the 2 things that made me think. One is work-life integration. So they said it's not balance, it's integration. Because if you, as you said, right, if you're a founder and your job becomes part of, it's part of your life. And if you are a founder as well, it's one of your child as well. Like, it's your creature as well. On the other side, I think when some people don't like the word work-life balance because it's saying that you have a life outside of work and work is just, you don't really like what you're doing and you need to have a life outside of it. I mean, I'm like you, I work a lot, but I feel like if you integrate it in the right way, you have a lot of satisfaction. You meet a lot of people as well. So you make friends. Like with this podcast, I met Giacomo, who is behind the camera, and we didn't even know each other before that. So it feels like I made a friend as well, right? And it's cool because they usually say your friends take a part of you, right? So linking friendship and work is a fine balance because you need to be careful. You always need to split the two. But I think if you are professional enough, I think you can do it. And I think the other secret must be being able to delegate to the right people because you can't take care of everything. You need to, as a founder, I guess, you need to trust the right people, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How hard it is to find the right people then?
I've been very lucky.
Okay.
I think I'm quite a good judge of character, and it's always been my mantra that we don't always employ on their education credentials and that we employ on culture and fit first. Because a lot of things can be taught, and if they're prepared to learn and grow, progress themselves, then that's the easy part. But if we're a small, we're a small team, and culture and fit is absolutely 100% the priority, because everybody's got to get on, and if everybody gets on, everybody's happy, and everybody's more productive. Just makes the workplace a really enjoyable place to be.
I agree with you. I feel like the culture is key. You want to have the people first, and then workers, right? But everyone can learn. But then I think you can learn to do a job, but it's hard to learn how to listen, to be proactive, and to be a nice person. Which I think they should teach it at uni. Like they should have a subject how to be nice. But yeah, because everyone has their struggle. Everyone has their challenges. So the best way is to actually be nice, and it will come back at some point.
Totally.
And then the last thing is, how do you define success? Because a lot of people define success as becoming, I don't know, the CM of a company, becoming millionaires, or just fishing. What's your definition of success then?
Feeling happy.
Okay.
Making a difference, and obviously going to Italy as much as I can.
So you said part of your family is from Italy, right?
Yes.
Italy is part of your success.
It is.
Amazing.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm Italian. We're drinking Italian wine.
Exactly.
I would say thank you for accepting the invite.
Thank you for inviting me.
And cheers to Italy at this point.
Yes, cheers.
Thank you.